Blam!
Death cakes. Welcome to another episode of Movie Morons. I'm your host, Holden. This is my co-host for today, Jackson.
Is that what I sound like?
It's exactly what you sound like.
All right. Well, what's that stupid thing that you say?
Oh yeah, I say, hey guys, how's it going?
Hey guys, how you doing?
You did it wrong, Jackson. You should be ashamed of yourself. But, on to the task at hand. Today, I'm going to be pitching a movie to you, Jackson. That's right. I got to sit here and listen to all your crappy movie pitches. I got some crappy ones of my own here. So,
Well, I think you'll see that it's not so easy in the pitching chair.
Okay. That's what you want to call it. Today we've got a classic here for you. Classic franchise. Thinking about rebooting it, turning it into something a lot cooler. It's Friday the 13th.
Ooh, classic horror franchise, Friday the 13th. Jason, an undead hockey enthusiast, goes around killing teens.
Exactly.
How are you going to reboot that to make it more awesome, huh? It's already at a pretty high level of awesome.
I don't know. I wouldn't say it's at a high level, but I mean, it's it's a sustainable franchise of some sorts. But what I'm going to do with it is I'm going to tell more of an emotional story, I suppose. But I won't spoil too much for you. I'll go ahead and begin it. So it opens up like any other movie would on a retirement home. There's it's just like a regular looking retirement home. And there's old people playing checkers and complaining about their grandchildren or whatever.
Oh, I've been to retirement homes.
And then it slowly pans out to see kind of the outside of it. And as it pans out, you see a sign and it says Camp Crystal Lake Retirement Homes or whatever. And then it kind of maybe you see a strange figure walk up and it's a woman. And then, the old people are back in there playing checkers or whatever. And then all of a sudden they look up, and then the middle of the room is this floating woman. And it's none other than Pamela Sue Voorhees, Jason's mother. She's back.
Jason's mother, the original killer from the first Friday the 13th movie.
Yep.
Not a lot of people know this, except the people that saw the first one. But Jason's mother was the killer in the first one, and then Jason was the killer throughout the rest of them.
Yep.
So your movie, you're bringing
her back
the ghost of Jason's mom?
The ghost of...
Kind of.
It's one of those weird, vague things is it a demon, ghost? It doesn't matter.
Okay.
She's just there. But she's floating, and she's kind of it's kind of like Evil Dead style, where she's and the wind's blowing her hair and stuff like that. She's got a creepy face. And she's freaking out all these old people. They're like, ah! And then eventually, you see the retirement home, it starts cracking around it. And there's cracks going through the buildings. And it's just eventually just sinks into the ground or whatever.
So it just collapses into a giant sinkhole.
Yeah, it essentially just collapses into a sinkhole, and she's still in there, she's there's 20 of her throughout the retirement home going and stuff like that. It's crazy, and you're just oh my god, she's gonna murder all these old people, and then that happens. And then from the outside, you see the sinkhole collapse, and then kind of even it just collapses, and you see the holes there and stuff like that. And then it cuts back to her, and she's outside, she's ha 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 ha, or whatever, and then turns around and starts walking away or whatever. And then I don't know, maybe you get some creepy music playing or something like that.
So you started off already, Jason's mom came back. They've built a retirement home on top of the remains of Camp Crystal Lake.
Yes.
And then she's come back and just wrecked shop.
She's wrecked
And now
shop.
she's
You know how
leaving.
she feels about Camp Crystal Lake.
Oh, probably
She's
hates it.
angry at like it for some reason. I think people were having sex or whatever.
Yeah.
But she's angry at
That's
Camp
where
Crystal
her boy
Lake.
died.
It's where her boy died. She's coming back. She's pissed and she's angry, and she's gonna let nothing stop her from doing what she wants to do. That's like a woman. But then it cuts to like I don't know, like a fresh faced like intern, like in like a black suit, and he's got like red eyes, and he's like running down the hallway, and like he like bursts into like this office, and he's like, "She escaped!" And then it like, the guy in the office is his name is Zebnar. And he's
Zebnar?
And kind of like a Beelzebub, one of those names.
Zebnar. So this is in hell.
Well, it's not really a hell, but I'll kind of explain it later on.
Okay.
But the guy in the office, he's like, he's played by Bill Nighy.
Okay.
So he's that type of character.
So it is hell.
It's kinda, like I said, it's kind of like a hell. You'll get the idea.
Okay.
But he's kind of like, like he kind of gives a look like no or whatever. And then it cuts to like a council, like of people, like there's like 4 or 5 dudes in black suits with red eyes, like all around, and they're talking about this. And Zebnar is kind of like the leader, and he's like, it's the Council of Evil. They're like, a group of people that are there to enforce and ensure that there's a balance in the world of like, serial killers or monsters or whatever, and people to kill or whatever. But, they have all these rules and regulations to create that balance so nothing like, destabilizes and the world falls into like turmoil or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, Bill Nighy's the leader, and he's like, we have to find a way to stop, Pamela Voorhees because, she's the worst of the worst, She makes demons in hell afraid and stuff like that. You get like, you throw some funny lines like that. And like, she makes demons afraid or whatever. The devil's afraid of her or something like that. And then like, you get the guys like, what are we going to do? She's, breaking all the laws, all the traditions. She's killing kids, virgins and old people. And he's just like, there's only one person we can send in. We have only one asset that we can send in to stop this massacre. And then it cuts to like hell. It's essentially hell.
Okay.
But like it's like it's essentially the classic version of hell where it's like,
bunch of red rocks.
Yeah, red rocks,
fire.
like a cavern, fires, pointy rocks like
and
those.
this council essentially is pissed at Jason's mom because generally the rule in those movies are if you have sex, you get killed. If you're like a young teen, but not like a child, you get killed. Yeah. So she's breaking all the rules. She's killing old people, virgins, children, whoever.
Yep, upsetting the balance that they're trying to protect.
So they're pissed off.
So they're pissed, and they're wanting to stop that. And like I said, it cuts to hell, and you see this man hung upside down. He's hung upside down over like a fire pit. And he's like hung by chains by his legs, and he's got like chains holding his arms too apart. And like you see like these 2 like demon like trolls or whatever. They're just like real nasty looking, and they got like chains that are on fire with spikes, and both of them are whipping the heck out of this guy. They're just like tearing into him and stuff like that. They're like whoosh, and he's like, and he's moving, and then eventually the camera pans around. And you see it's Jason. He's got the hockey mask. No shirt on. He's got no shirt on. But he's got the hockey mask. And, as they're whipping him, he's not reacting to it or nothing like that. He's not like, this hurts. He's just like, he's just taking it because he's so solid. Badass.
Okay.
He's so badass that he's just taking it. And you kind of get, and it's kind of like, oh man, Jason's in hell and he's getting tortured. What's going on? And then Bill Nighy walks up and he's like, Jason, we need to talk. And then Jason just kind of turns over his shoulder and looks at him, and then like goes like this or something like that. And one of the guys is, one of those troll like dudes are like, and then they like bring him down, and you're just kind of like, oh, he wants this. He's not like, it's not like he's being tortured. He's in hell because he wants to be.
Yeah, this is the Saturday night.
Yeah, this is what he
He's
does
not
for
being
fun.
tortured. This is just,
Yeah, this is fun for him.
Yeah.
So he gets pulled down and he puts on like a cloak or something like that. I don't know. And then
he's got a robe on.
Well, he's got a robe, but it's like a tattered robe, like his shirt that he usually wears or something like that. But he walks up and he's talking to Bill Nighy, and he hands him a file or whatever. And he opens the file, and it's his mom's face, like a paper clip, all that stuff. And he's like, you see in his reaction on his face or through his eyes that he's kind of like it's my mom, or what's going on? And he's like, she's escaped, Jason, and we need you to track her down and, take her in or whatever, kill her and stuff like that. And, Jason doesn't say anything, so he's just kind of like. And, oh, by the way, because, he's going to have a lot of reaction in his face, I felt like you needed a good actor with a lot of facial reactions, that can kind of act with his eyes. I feel like Tom Hardy can do that. So Jason's going to be played by Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy is used to playing roles where he's got a bunch of shit on his face.
Yep.
The people. Gotham is yours.
He was Bane, and then in Mad Max he had that thing on his face. He's a man of few words, doesn't have to say much, but can emote with his eyes a little bit.
Yeah.
So Bill Nighy is kind of running him up on the situation, telling him she's doing all this stuff. She's killing kids, old people, virgins. We need this, taken care of silently. Make sure there's no collateral damage, because we can't have that. We can't have more souls coming into hell. We can't deal with all that paperwork. So, make sure you take care of this quickly and quietly. Mm-hmm. So Jason agrees, and he, gets his machete and stuff like that. They give him a special machete because he's this is a, special machete. I don't know. I don't want to say magic and...
It's a magic machete.
I don't want to say it's a magic machete, but it's a magic machete.
Okay, so they give him a magic. They give it some sort of name, like this is a machete that's been cooled in the river Styx and blessed by Satan himself. And then they give it to him or something like that.
Something like that, I don't know. But it's kind of like he gets a special machete.
Yeah.
And he gets it, and he gets dressed, I guess, in whatever swamp clothes he wears. And then he goes back up to Earth or whatever. And then it cuts to Jason's mom, who, by the way, I didn't mention this, but, is going to need a classy actress, somebody that we can respect and fear at the same time.
Okay. So we're recasting Jason.
We're recasting Jason. It's kind of like a soft reboot where it's kind of like, yeah, these things happened, but, we're, recasting
It's the story now, okay.
But she's going to be played by Meryl Streep.
Oh!
We're getting the big guns out for this movie.
The
here.
big guns. Tom Hardy and
Meryl Streep.
You're trying to go for an Oscar for this one.
Well, but yeah, she's going to be played by Meryl Streep. And so we cut back to Pamela Voorhees, and she's doing some witchy stuff. She's got, I don't know, like a cauldron or whatever witches do. And she's just kind of like blah, 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 blah. And then she 3 portals show up in the ground, and then 3 creepy witches shoot up, and they're whoosh, and she's like, I need you to do my bidding or whatever. We're going to take this world and we're going to destroy it or whatever. She's kind of enlisting them into her army, so they go off to terrorize the city, do their things, and so then it cuts to the first witch, and she's, there's no particular thing about them. It's not like this one does this.
Yeah, this is the water witch and the fire
they're just
witch.
all witches.
Yeah, they're just all witches or whatever.
And she's on a tour bus or whatever, and she's just wrecking shop in there. She's
yeah,
exploding heads, throwing people out of the car or whatever. She's doing witchy
She's just
stuff.
having fun.
She's having fun, and she's like I said, it's the whole Evil Dead thing where they're floating and stuff like that. And, Jason eventually, pulls up in, a motorcycle. He's, rides up, on the side of a motorcycle, machete in hand, and then, jumps on the bus. And then climbs
Very
up.
reminiscent of Age of Ultron.
Yeah, kind of like that type of spirit. It's kind of like, oh, man, Jason's riding a motorcycle.
So if you want to paint a mind picture, you think Captain America riding on the motorcycle, fighting Ultron on the top of a bus.
Truck. But it's a bus, and it's full of people. And it's one of those buses where, the top half is open. So,
okay. So it's one of those double-decker buses.
Yeah, it's one of those double-decker buses. Maybe it's, whatever, I don't know.
They're in London.
Yeah, they're it's one of those, It's not necessarily a London bus. It's like, it's one of those like Star Tour buses or whatever.
Okay.
But, she's on top of their wrecking shop. Jason climbs up, pulls out his machete, and they start fighting, going at it or whatever. Mm-hmm. She's like zapping him with like lightning or whatever. And he's like,
he's just like, just
blocking it with his machete and stuff like that. And, eventually they take out the bus driver. The bus flips over. And then he grabs, he eventually is able to grab the witch, chops off her head, and then just like, walks away.
Yeah, just throws it off the side.
Well, no, he keeps.
Oh, they're already off the bus. Okay.
Well, they're already off the bus, kind of, or in the wreckage of the bus of some sorts, and he, chops their heads off, takes it with him, and walks away. And then, like, it cuts to like Bill Nighy's office or whatever. Jason walks in and he sets the head down on the table, and he's just like, good job, Jason, or whatever, and then leaves. Just to kind of show, like, he's, bringing, like, proof that he killed these people to him.
Yeah, he's got somebody to report to.
Yeah, that's like his boss or whatever.
Sounded much more like an action movie than a horror movie.
Well, that's what it is.
Okay. We're rebooting Friday the 13th into an action movie.
Yes.
Okay.
Screw that horror stuff, Ghosts are the new thing. Jason's not going to work in an age of, like, ghosts, so Jason can work.
But maybe in the world of, there we go.
In the world of action, he can be the new John McClane.
The new Jason Bourne. Action has a whole new Jason. His name is Voorhees.
You thought Jason Bourne was cool. Wait till you meet Jason Voorhees.
Voorhees.
Okay, but then it cuts to the second witch, and she's, it's like a dinner party. And she's like, she comes in and she's like, wrecking shop in there too, like torturing people, doing all this stuff. She's ruining people's lives, essentially. And like, as she's doing this, like, Jason comes in through the skylight like Batman. Machete in hand. And he's like, lands, and it's kind of like a cool badass scene where he's just like, like he points to her and they start fighting. And, like, it's cool and stuff like that. Like, she's throwing them through tables. And, like, Jason's trying, because Jason, like Bill Nighy said, he's not trying to worry about, killing, people or anything like that. He's just trying to worry about killing her and then getting out of there. He's, not worried about everybody else. So he's not killing anybody else. He's worrying about trying to get them out of there as well as trying to stop her. So Jason's kind of a hero in this movie.
Yeah.
So he's, trying to get people out of there, So he's like he's getting thrown against the wall, thrown, all the getting stuff thrown at him and stuff like that. And then eventually he grabs the second witch and throws her out of the window. But she's able to summon a helicopter.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe she either summons it or it's like already out there or whatever. But he throws her through the window into a helicopter, essentially. And she's, she's like, ooh, I'm in this helicopter or whatever, you can't get me. And then Jason just like, walks back and then runs out of the window into the helicopter and then just starts punching her. He just starts wailing on her and stuff like that. And then like eventually grabs her and shoves her head into the helicopter propellers.
There you go.
Chopping off her head.
Okay.
And then like, the
Well,
helicopter.
not going to have much to bring to Bill Nighy.
Well, what happens is the helicopter crashes, into like the bottom of like this nice building. The dinner party was like in a tall building. And it crashes into the ground and like maybe some people die by accident or whatever. And so he brings like a bag of mush to Bill Nighy because that's all he could collect was just like, I just got this bag of mush, sorry. And, Bill Nighy kind of opens him a new asshole because he's like, hey, you just like caused a bunch of property damage and that's going to cause a bunch of suicides and we can't have all these souls in hell because all of the paperwork we're going to have to do,
Okay.
So
Bill Nighy is like a police chief.
Yeah, it's like a police chief.
It's just
very
like,
bureaucratic to where he's just kind of like, I don't really want to deal with all this paperwork, so make sure, you don't do this and stuff like that. But Jason's not hearing any of it. He just turns around and walks away.
Yeah, he's straight up,
cool.
Riggs and Murtaugh.
Yeah, he's straight Lethal Weapon style. So he just turns away and walks away from him while he's talking to him and stuff like that, shuts the door. And then it cuts back to Pamela Voorhees, Jason's mom. Mm-hmm. And she, she hears about this. Maybe she's like watching TV or whatever. And she's like, what? Jason's back or whatever? And she's like, I'm gonna have to try to stop him. So she's like, she sends the third witch, like, you make sure you kill him, and make sure he doesn't stop our plans or whatever. And so, the third witch goes off, and she's like, oh, Jason's back or whatever. She's kind of worried. She's shaking in her boots.
Yeah, Witch 3 shaking in her boots.
Witch 3 goes off to, try to find a way to stop him. So what happens is Witch 3 goes out, and she starts, like, pulling airplanes out of the sky.
Okay.
She, pulls, maybe, one down or whatever. It cuts to, an airplane, and they're, the pilot's in there, and he's just like, "Ugh," and he can't control it. And it just, starts nose diving. And he's like, no! And then it just cuts to the outside, and the plane's just like, and you see from the side, the witch is like,
yeah, she's like,
she's like pulling down.
Like Magneto.
Like Magneto. And she's trying to do it to more planes, but Jason shows up and he's like chopping off her hands and stuff like that, trying to stop her from doing anything, all this stuff. There's a big battle, she's throwing her across the place and stuff like that. She's throwing him across the place. But eventually he does get her, chops her head off. And then, looks at it, and she starts talking to him. She's like, you'll never win, She's going to kill you, Jason.
Puts it in her back.
well, and then she says, why don't you just jump in a lake? Because Camp Crystal Lake, that's where he drowned. And then, he's just like, he just I don't know, shoves a machete in her mouth or sticks it in the bag, whatever.
Yeah.
But kind of is a scene to be like, shut up, bitch, or whatever.
Yeah, it was like, don't talk about Crystal Lake.
Yeah.
That's my, this has flashbacks.
Yeah, and then you see, the shot of his eyes, and he's like,
Yeah.
And so it cuts back to Bill Nighy, and he's like, here, the last witch's head or whatever. And he's like, she's wanting to, he tells her, your mother, she's trying to destroy the world, you got to make sure you stop her. She's going to, turn everything upside down, and everybody's going to go crazy and kill everybody, whatever. Normal stuff. And, she's like, and he's like, she's at Camp Crystal Lake, back to the place where it all began or whatever. And it goes back to Camp Crystal Lake, and his mom's, sitting there looking out at the lake or whatever. And Jason walks up. His mom turns around, and she's like, Jason, my son, please don't do this, just join me, and we can be mother and son again, just like good old days or whatever.
Yeah, so she's trying to appeal to her little boy.
She's trying to appeal to her little boy, but he's having none of it.
Yeah.
So
he knew that she sent the witch after him.
Yeah, it's like, I know you sent that witch after me. You're trying to kill me. He's kind of upset by that. But he's having none of that. So he eventually, no, mother, I'm not going to help you or whatever. He doesn't say that because he's Jason.
Yeah, but he says it with his eyes.
Yeah,
Tom
he's kind of
Hardy's
just
acting.
no, I'm not going to do this. And she's just kind of like, I should have aborted you. She just says something horrifyingly mean to him. And he's just kind of like, Mom. And she starts whipping trees at him and stuff. Because she's got these magic witch powers.
Yeah.
And he's got the magic machete, so he's chopping them in half as they're whipping towards him. He's whoosh, whoosh, and he's just whipping them in half so they're not hurting him. And he's running towards her and stuff like that. And she's kind of I can't stop him. So she just grabs, whips him into the lake there. And that's his weakness. So he's kind of blah 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 blah. I can't swim. I can't do anything. I can't. This is my weakness. He's getting flashbacks of when he drowned. So eventually he's able to conquer his fear and climb out of the water. And it's kind of I'm gonna freaking kill this woman. And his mom's like, my boy, you were always so strong. And he's like, screw you, Mom. He doesn't say it, but you get the idea.
Yeah.
And he just whoosh, stabs her through the heart, and she's like, ugh. And then he holds her as she's dying. And she's just kind of it's an emotional moment here. So she's kind of something, Jason, and she pulls off his mask and she's like, my beautiful boy. But he's not, because he looks like Jason does.
Yeah.
He looks like Chunk from Goonies or whatever.
Yeah, Chunk from Goonies.
So he's she's touching his face and stuff like that. And she's like, my beautiful boy. And you get some great acting out of Meryl Streep.
Some primo acting.
Primo acting out of Meryl Streep.
And Tom Hardy.
And Tom Hardy. And then, she dies in his arms, and he puts back on his mask, and then as he grabs her, he's walking away with her dead body in his hands. You can kind of see a tear rolling down his hockey mask. Down the hockey mask somehow. But it cuts back to him. He's bringing it into Bill Nighy's office or wherever Bill Nighy's dead body places. And he's kind of she's done. It's done. and Jason and Bill Nye, he's kind of like trying to appeal to him because, he sent him out to kill his mom. So he's kind of like, I'm sorry, I know this was difficult. But Jason just kind of is like, no, like, don't tell me. Like, spare me. You're, trying to rationalize with me or whatever what I had to do. He's just like, nah, don't. And then just turns away and walks away. And then it cuts back to, his hell or whatever. And he just walks up. He, like, takes his shirt off, sets it down, and then, like, rigs himself back up, upside down.
To the chains.
Back to his chain, prison or whatever. And he's rigged back up, and he's getting whipped and stuff like that. And then it ends.
And that's the end. You put in a nice slow song there to end on.
Yeah, you put like
As
Johnny
he's getting
Cash is
whipped.
hurt or
Yeah.
something like that.
You put Johnny Cash's shirt on. They're whipping him. Goes to credits. Who's it directed by? Directed by
Ryan Coogler.
Ryan Coogler.
Yeah, the guy that directed Creed.
Okay, so
I
they
like
could,
him as a
They could
director.
do that whole in thing in one shot.
Yeah. Yeah, he could do some fight scenes in one shot. That would be awesome. So, yeah, Ryan Coogler.
Okay, so Ryan Coogler directing this Friday the 13th picture with.
It's
Tom
not going to be
Hardy.
called Friday the 13th because we're moving away from Friday the 13th. It's no longer the horror genre.
Oh, okay.
And as we know, there's a lot of Jasons in the action world. Jason Bourne, no, somebody else.
There's other Jasons, I'm sure. Jason and the Argonauts.
Yeah, whatever. But there's a new Jason in the action genre. Jason Voorhees, and that's the name of the movie. Jason Voorhees.
Okay, so kind of how they did like Jason Bourne or
Jason.
John Rambo.
Yep.
We're doing just Jason Voorhees.
Yep.
That was pretty spectacular.
Yeah, see, it's not so hard. You think this job is hard. It's easy, Jackson. Easy peasy. Lemon squeezy. You got anything else to add?
Nope.
Well, there you have it. That was my pitch for Jason Voorhees, the Friday the 13th reboot. Let us know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Make sure you like and subscribe. And as for Movie Morons, my name is Holden, and this has been Jackson.
Have a nice day.
It's not what I sound like.
So they're down there destroying all this stuff, and Rock, it's an archaeologist, is like, that's my worst enemy here. So he comes in, he just starts, wrecking the shop, because he's also the Rock.
He's also ex-football player, The Rock.
Yeah, he's also the Rock. He starts wrecking shop and stuff. But eventually he's overpowered, because there's 30 of them.